Dear Elizabeth, I hope you're doing well. I hope you get this I hope you get this message as your husband, Kevin Owens, rots in hell. I hope this message finds you in good taste and in good faith. Don't worry, I got him chained up and I'm slapping him in the fucking face. In his fucking face. This mediocre piece of shit has made a mockery of what I love for long enough. And now I think it's time that to tell you both that I just don't give a fuck. I've lost all control and I don't care about you or your fucking marriage. I guess I'm here to be the red herring. I got a knife on me and I got 3 guns, and quite frankly, I think it's time that me and Kevin Owens had some fun. I'm gonna slap him for every time that he cries. I've got his address and I'm sending 3 men, and I wanna know, does he wanna watch his children fucking die? I'm sending 3 men and I wanna know if he wants to watch his children die or get raped, be run over, or squashed. This right now, and you could say that it's over. They want to kill men's motivations. He's got nothing left. I feel like I'm screwing this part up, but I mean, I'm the one that wrote it. And you could say it's over. And when you kill a man's motivation and he's got nothing left, it's time that I started to put some massive disrespect. I think that we should chain him up, and as this man hands me a tape, I'm about to watch this man watch his children be fucking raped. And now he's gonna know how I feel watching someone take something away from someone that they truly love, that they truly have a passion for, and that they truly deal. I'm feeling like someone took something that you love and just ruined it. Is my time to strike, and the nails my time to know how feel bloodlust and rage. Don't worry, I got him tied up next to me, and I'll slap him one time for you so he can feel my pain. I'll spit on him as he knows his faults are in vain, but what feels like so basically I had written this Kevin Owens rap, and I was hoping that it was going better than what it actually was. But it's rather long, and I can't even post this to Twitter, not only because of the content, but also because of how long that it is. I guess I'll go ahead and just finish it up with the last paragraph. I'm about to cast a spell, not even give it a second thought, and send your ass straight to hell where you both belong. Where you can find some other douchebags like you along the way, along, and have a fun ride, because hell that I've gone through watching you has left me with some sleepless nights where I wake up feeling miserable and I can't be happy. So I need you to feel exactly how I'm feeling so that we both feel crappy. You've nothing more than a son of a bitch, a no talent one, if that. You deserve to be burned, electrocuted, electrical shocked, and your balls cut off and put into a freezer bag. All the while you slowly bleed out, you're watching your kids be raped on a VH tape that I made so that you can slowly listen to them be beaten out for hypothetical rape. Kevin Owens has made me feel miserable since 2017. Now I think it's time that I do the same to him that he did to me. And since I can't actually hurt him, or for that matter, kill him, wouldn't do me any pleasure hiring someone to do a lot of things to him would be a lot of red tape to go through. I figured that the best way to take care of business is to create a hypothetical scenario in which that I could live it out. Do apologize for the extra elongated intro, ladies and gentlemen, and for that matter that you heard my phone go off. I'm sure that you heard that little notification that I got on Twitter. I'm going to put it on silent now, and I'm going to do something that I should have done before the episode started, but I had tried to remind myself to do so, but I guess I'd failed to do just that. So I'm going to check and see what episode we're on. This is week 1 of boycotting WWE. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, this is week 1 of boycotting the WWE. The reason that we're boycotting the WWE, I'm glad that you asked, by the way, is because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are our, not RR. What am I, a fucking pirate? Are our tag team champions. Yay! Oh my god. Tag team champions? What? Gotta be joking right now. I mean, they don't even deserve to be like the, so, I mean, I didn't say it, you did. Welcome to episode 75, ladies and gentlemen, of the Gut Wrench Podcast. The only podcast that, to my knowledge, is been shouted out by James Ellsworth, Kristen Statlander. She seems like she doesn't remember shouting out my podcast the last few times that she's done it. But that's okay. So I did write a Kevin Owens rap, and I do feel as though that the lyrics on it are a little bit more fluent. Had someone else would have read them off, so I think that I'll keep it in my notes just in case someone wanted to do just that. So, like I said, we're boycotting WWE, but before we get started here, just a few little bits and updates. Later on in the week, you can expect me to do probably going to do a pay-per-view review of Battle of the Belts 6, I think it is. We're also probably going to do is the second commercial to the Gut Wrench Podcast commercial, which will be held on my YouTube channel, and as well as the merch will be up and live again. So something happened with the merch that I had. For whatever reason, it's not showing up, no matter how many times I try to go back, refresh that URL, or for that matter, try to work it out with Redbubble. if all goes wrong, then I guess I'll have to start another Redbubble account, but I'll either use a different PayPal, which I shouldn't have to, but that's okay. I'll use a different PayPal. I wish that they would accept Cash App, but they don't. Or, I'll just find a secondary website or something. Like I was using springtea.com, but their quality is really, not that good. Whereas though that Redbubble has a lot of, instead of, oh, you can make one t-shirt at a time. Oh, this is really fun. I get to make one at a time. What if I wanted to make an alternate variant of that t-shirt, where instead of the red is the trim with my logo on it, the black is the trim, and then the red is the main color with my logo on it. See, with Redbubble I can do that, but with Spring Tea I can't do that, unless I go into the settings and then I change something, and then I'll have to change it back to make another variant of that t-shirt. And then I'll have to keep those multiple variants if I want it to be on different products, not just that one t-shirt. I'll have to keep that product on my phone for some reason. I don't know how it works. It's a little bit, weird if you think, if that's what they say. Nonetheless, this is episode 75 of the Gut Wrench podcast. My name is Mocha. I do apologize for that elongated intro. This is week 1, by the way, once again, of boycotting the WWE. Now, what does that mean? That means that as long as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn hold a championship in the WWE, I will not be watching WWE products or reviewing them. I didn't mean to say watching. I mean reviewing. I will be watching their WWE products, but I will not be reviewing them. This week we have AEW Dark Elevation 75, I think they said it was. So it's their 70. No, it's not their. It's like their 109th episode, as a matter of fact. It's my 75th episode, rather. How funny would that be if we just, coexisted like that? Maybe I should have watched their 75th episode. For this first matchup, we have AR Fox versus Pretty Peter Avalon. Now, I already knew going into this match that Peter is he's a jobber, so he's just here to lose. Despite the fact that they gave him an entrance, usually whenever you know who the jobber is, it's because they're in the ring already, and it's because not only are they already in the ring, but that's all that they get. They don't get any entrance, they don't get any entrance music, they don't get any special treatment, and once their ring announcer, in this case Dasha, I think her name is, once Dasha gets done saying and making their way to the ring, that person who's obviously going to win the match, once she gets done saying their entrance, then once that person gets into the ring, as they were making their way to the ring, she looks over to her other side and then she says, already in the ring, this person, that person. So I already knew who was going to win this match, but I didn't expect it to be such a, for an opening contest, it was pretty good. They start talking about AR Fox and his impact on what he's held in the professional wrestling world, despite the fact that in AEW, this man is only 2-0. So, they're talking highly about him like he's been a part of the business for a long time, and he probably has been a part of the wrestling business for a long time, because I myself have heard of AR Fox. Have never had the pleasure of actually watching any of his wrestling matches up until this point. They talk about the impact that he's had on the professional wrestling world, and AEW's. It's pretty obvious who's going to win here, and I know that Pretty Peter Avalon is a jobber in AEW. Unorthodox offense by AR Fox and a beautiful leg drop from the top rope by Fox into onto Avalon. A nice moonsault by Peter Avalon, but he missed. It feels really tense between Taz and Excalibur have these throughout the night. Really, really tense, awkward silences. Almost like, Taz caught Excalibur sleeping with his girlfriend or something, and he's not allowed to talk about it. And they're just like crickets could be playing in the background, man. I mean, it's just like, hang on, I'll try to replicate it for you. And a nice match going on here tonight. Oh, wouldn't you say, Bob? And what a great suplex from Dean Malenko. And now he's going for an uppercut. Oh, but he missed. What do you think about the match there, Tony? Wouldn't you say, Bob? It's almost like there's no chemistry whatsoever between Taz and Excalibur, and I know that they've had like interactions before, and later on in the night, Taz even comments whatever it is that you got in that mug there, because he's obviously got a thermos or something sitting beside a Taz, but Excalibur, I guess whatever Excalibur has in that mug there, said Taz, and then he says, it stinks. He says, well, that's between me and what I put in my thermos. And then they laugh it off, like, ha 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 ha. What you got? Is it wine, bourbon? Could you let me take a sip? Like they laugh it off a little bit, but I just don't get it. I gave this match AR Fox versus Pretty Peter Avalon. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Hard-hitting, high-flying action at times. It felt a little slow, and it was one of their shorter matches, but they're doing what they can. I mean, you can really tell that they're doing what they can. And the commentary, oh my god, the commentary did not help this match at all. Serpentico versus Willie Mack. Usually whenever you see Serpentico in a match, it's later on the card. You barely ever see him be the opening contest, and in this case he's... What do I got? Fleas? And in this case, Serpentico will be one of the opening bouts, being the second match on the card. Serpentico versus Willie Mack, and the big question that I have is, why would they put the big 270-pound man Willie Mack to face off against someone who's barely 140, 150 pounds in Serpentico? I don't understand how they couldn't just put both Serpentico in put both separate competitors in separate singles matches. Against opponents near their own size. Taz name drops The Rock while trying to he says, I don't mean The Rock. And then he laughs it off like, ha 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 ha. I hope he's not listening. Ha 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 ha. But anyway, he says he's trying to talk about the Thing from the Fantastic Four. He's trying to compare the big Willie Mack to the Thing, from the Fantastic Four. He says, the big rock guy. And then he says, I don't mean the rock. And then he laughs it off. I gave it two out of 5 stars. It was slow at times. Really looked quite slow and felt boring at times. And both men has had better matches. Amira versus Layla Gray. So, at the beginning of this match, they talk about the fact that whenever Layla Gray comes out, they refer to her as the baddie's Layla Gray. Which, keep in mind, the baddies are no longer around. And keeping that in mind, well, you really can't call her the baddies anymore. She would be the baddie, right? So that's what they're conjuring up on commentary, practically. This entire episode, they're just like, hey, there's no plurals in baddies. Why are we still saying baddies? We should say baddie. It's like, unless, there's another baddie. Well, anyway, had that been the case, they still call them the baddies, and Layla Gray gets an entrance, and Amira gets no entrance. So you can obviously tell who's going to win here. Amira's already in the ring as they come back from a commercial break, despite there being no commercials. Because I pay for YouTube Premium. They used to call it YouTube Red, and I don't know why they stopped calling it that, but I can only assume why they stopped calling it that. Well, Twitter has a subscription called Twitter Blue. Good thing they didn't call it Twitter Red. But for those of you who don't know why they stopped calling it that, it's because it's similar to another website that's a porn site known as RedTube. For those of you who are unaware. Amira gets no entrance. 2 out of 5 stars. It was a little sloppy at times, and the commentary was all over the place, talking about irrelevant things through the match. Once again, no chemistry. Or something awkward happened to them off, camera, and they're not allowed to talk about it. Taz is silent sometimes while one person, Excalibur, calls the entire match. Maybe Taz is tired. I don't know. I don't know what he's going through. It seemed to me like he was on his phone a lot. I didn't hear notifications, unlike you guys probably heard from me earlier. Tony Nese and Arya Daivari, and they are, if you know anything about AEW, you know that Daivari is currently in a faction with the Trust Busters, and these two have a faction too known as the Premium Athletes, or the something of that nature. I really didn't write it down. They only mention it maybe once or twice, and if that's the case, they went backstage and asked him a question. Are you still a part of the Trust Busters, Arya Daivari? And of course he is. Why wouldn't he be? That's... And Mark Sterling said it best. He said, that's such a stupid question. And then I'm like, okay, well, Why are we having this interview segment then? It adds nothing to the story, you know? Is there going to be a story between, Arya Davari being shared between the premier athletes or the premium athletes or whatever they're called, the pristine athletes and the trust busters? Because it seems like that's where you're going with this, but I'm not 100% for sure. Because you're giving me crumbs, and that's about all that you're feeding me. But Tony Nese and Arya Davari faced off against Jay Lucas and Terry Aki. Yes, Terry is his first name, and Yaki is his last name, his other name. Holy crap. So, yeah, his name is literally Teriyaki. They say the man who could beat the Incredible Hulk in an arm wrestling match, Tony Nese, and then he says Arya Davari once bought all the tickets to Universal Studios to avoid riding rides with all of you. And of course he's pointing at the studio audience. Holy crap. Okay, how rich do you have to be to buy every ticket in Universal Studios? Think about that for a minute. And how strong would you have to be in order to beat the Incredible Hulk in arm wrestling? Think about that for a minute. Oh, crap. Holy crap. Okay. I need to bring this episode back. I swear I can feel the you know what you hear after your heartbeat, and then the flat line. That's what it's called. I can hear the flat line right now. It's just going for this episode. Swear, y'all are like crickets out there. They say oh yeah, I already said that. Tony Nese says that he hasn't eaten a gram of sugar in 19 years. So Taz on commentary says that the reason that Tony Nese is so shredded is because he hasn't eaten a gram of sugar in 19 years. And that is impossible. Let me tell you why. Because sugar is a vital nutrient that, believe it or not, the brain needs in order to function, in order to provide us with the electricity that we need in order to go about our regular day. Sugar is something that keeps the motor moving in your heart, and believe it or not, it keeps your legs going. It kind of keeps your nervous system from being shocked. But an overload in sugar, that's what's going to kill you, So don't drink, don't eat too much at the same time. So for Tony Nese to say that he hasn't had a drop of sugar in 19 years is a bunch of baloney, man. Baloney, dude. You can't tell me that you haven't eaten sugar in 19 years. Show me your diet. What are you, a vegan? Okay, well, maybe vegans. I mean, do they put sugar in eggs? Have you ever eaten a cookie? I mean, come on, guys. You can't pull the wool over me. I know that there's sugar in processed foods. It says it on the back of the package. Total sugars. And you can't tell me that Tony Nese, looking that good, I mean, the man's got an actual 6-pack and probably 13-inch arms. I don't know. Just don't ask me anything. Tony Nese says that he hasn't eaten a gram of sugar in 19 years. That's how he stays in such good shape. Me personally, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. That you can't go 19 years without eating sugar. Your brain wouldn't function properly, and you can't convince me that you actually went 19 years without eating any sugar at all. 4 out of 5 stars. Was a fast-paced action match. Was short, but I mean they're given like a certain short amount of time, so you know I can get with the fact that pretty much everything that they're doing is going to be like a short match or whatever. Sorry about that. Oh, one sec. Okay, back to the action, back to the action. It did its job though really well, and it's a well entertaining match. Invictus, I think he said his name was Cash versus Lee Moriarty. Once again, very entertaining, fast-paced action at this time, and at times it looked like it was a technical match. It was very fast-paced, high-flying action. 4 out of 5 stars, along with a little bit of comedy. The match was a little too short, though, but they're working with the short time that they have on YouTube, or that they decide to pull from, rather, on YouTube, which is like an hour. So, you know, I've got an hour to like sit down, chop it up, you know, talk about it, maybe tell a joke or two. Why did the fish cross the road? You know, something like that. You know, Kevin Owens, rap, you know. I know that I probably butchered that one, but I did what I could. You know, I would like to formally invite anyone who likes Kevin Owens to show up to my show. Matter of fact, you're not invited anymore. You know what? You can get lost. Go heat, bitch. I don't care. You think that I care? I mean, I got pussy ring up my nose right now, and you know I got a face tattoo on the other side. Like, I don't care who knows. You know, like, what do I look like? I'm drunk? Like I'm taking inspiration from someone like, bloody hell, what's that woman's name? Amy Schumer? Yeah. Believe it or not, she's actually been accused of stealing people's material. So, you know, if you're an Amy Schumer fan, maybe you want to... There's like a compilation on YouTube of her, like... It'll show her joke, and then afterwards it'll play the original joke. And then, you know, it's like a 25-minute video of either audio of her admitting that she's stolen jokes, or that she goes into Walmart and she steals their products, or that... Now, granted that you could probably find this on YouTube, her saying all this, so it's not slander. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Just a whole bunch of nonsense, you know? Just like fucking Excalibur and Taz, man. They're nothing but nonsense, too. The boos echo throughout the arena, no one getting cheers, as Evil Uno faces off against the other wingman. If I didn't say it already, Pretty Peter Avalon, the man who faced off against AR Fox in the first matchup, is a part of a group known as the Wingmen. Pretty Peter Avalon is a part of a group known as the Wingmen, and Evil Uno of the Dark Order faces off against one half of the Wingmen in Cesar Bartoni, or Bonaroni. I hate butchering people's names, but okay. Evil Uno reminds me a lot of Shark Boy back in Impact Wrestling, early 2002, 2003. My Discord is going crazy. Give me 1 second. It shouldn't be popping like this. So I guess that's 2 things that went wrong here tonight. But that's fine. That's alright. Minor inconveniences aside, ladies and gentlemen, I will try to get the merchandise back up, and yes, that is another minor inconvenience. It's just not one that they're not spamming me with, hey, get your merchandise up, bitch, anything like that. Evil Uno really reminds me a lot of Shark Boy back in Impact Wrestling. The early days from 2003, 2004, early 2004, is a lot. Looks like him, some of him in his mask, and maybe he's always been wearing this same Shark Boy looking mask, but maybe I'm just now realizing it and connecting the dots. And once again, the awkward silence returns between Excalibur and Taz. They really need to find some chemistry or find something to talk about. I really don't know what's wrong on this episode. It's back, and 5 minutes goes by, maybe less time than that, and it's been about maybe a minute 30, and the awkward silence once again lingers between Excalibur and his broadcast colleague partner, Taz. Uno did a banned move in pro wrestling called the Power Driver. Okay, it's called the Power Driver. Now I could be wrong in saying this, but there's a very slim chance of that. But I could be wrong in saying this. If I remember correctly, either one or the other way. So, what I meant to say here was that, looking back at my notes, is that, so there's a certain pile driver that's banned, and it's called the spike pile driver. And I don't think that that's what Uno did this particular night. And we go to our main event. So, yeah, Uno didn't do the spike pile driver. But I was just told, if I remember correctly, that the pile driver is banned from professional wrestling because it breaks necks, and despite what Ric Flair tells us, that this business is all about 2 things, which is getting checks and breaking necks. But I give this match 2 out of 5 stars, despite what Ric Flair tells us about that. We're really not supposed to break people's necks. Really wouldn't look good for us. Toni Storm versus Kiera Hogan. The first thing that I want to say is, if you are starting off in the world of professional wrestling, please do not give your namesake, something that's already there. Now, I do not know whether or not Kiera Hogan here is related to Hulk Hogan, but where the name is there, it kind of makes me wonder if perhaps they were going for something here. And, older people, they're going to be watching wrestling with their children or something. They're going to be like, her last name is Hogan. I wonder if she's related to Terry Hogan. Big 24-inch pythons. Used to wrestle back in my day. So you really need to be careful Kira Hogan whenever you're gonna be, putting your namesake out there. And on top of that, you really don't want to take Charlotte Flair, for example. Charlotte Flair, everybody thinks that she's got it made, right? Everybody thinks that Charlotte Flair, for whatever reason, and I know that I've said it before, and I'll continue to say it again, that woman has the world on her shoulders whenever she's out there to perform. You don't understand what she has to live up to in a man named Ric Flair. She has to, every night, live in his shadow. I mean, if you take into example, just remember, it's kind of like Cody Rhodes. He has a name to live up to. He has that Rhodes family, that what he calls Rhodes Dynasty, and like what I call everyone here, I've talked about it before, how I'm building a wrestling dynasty, but I sort of stole that from him. I say sort of because, I noticed that he was saying Rhodes Dynasty, and then I was like, I know exactly what to do. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Cody Rhodes is forever going to be having to live within his father's shadow, is what I should say. Take if Bret Hart had a daughter, she would forever have to live in that shadow. And take, for example, someone else that I wanted to talk about this episode. Hang on one second. I can't for the life of me remember the boy's name, and I know that's a little disrespectful, maybe. Well, it turns out that his name is David Benoit. And if you guys know the last name Benoit, you know that it is extremely taboo for most wrestling fans to bring up the name Benoit, because we tend to act as though that name doesn't exist anymore because of a tragedy that unfortunately unfolded in 2005, 2007, somewhere around that timeline. And if that's the case, and in this case it is the case, that means that he's had an interview with a certain wrestling personality in Chris Van Volt, I do believe. And his relation is that of his father, is Chris Benoit. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe you're just hearing it for the first time. His name is David Chris Benoit Jr. So he could basically use that name because, as he said in the interview, they couldn't do anything to him. But once again, I think that's going to land him on a blacklist of no, we're not going to hire you, or we'll think about it, we'll look into it, because that's an extremely controversial, taboo thing to do, is to look at certain talents because of their namesake. Kira Hogan in this match did very, very well. Her performance really, really good, and she even got the crowd involved, which was the first time of the night, aside from a few boos that I'd heard for the Willie Mack and the Serpentico match that I talked about earlier, and that tag team match, and that Evil Uno. But what I mean is the first like cheer, the first like, hey, you're going, you're doing great things, like that. For the main event, the women's match, Excalibur calls most of the action by himself without any help from his broadcast partner colleague interrupting him per as usual, but this time it wasn't as usual because he was almost silent almost entirely throughout this contest, or for that matter throughout this broadcast. For the first 4.5 to 2.5 to 5 minutes of this main event of this woman's contest, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a nice back and forth between two ladies, nice fast-paced high flying action, nice technical wrestling at times, nice cradles, roll throughs, an interesting, back and forth, and then, code red into a small package, into a headlock, into the double down, the standing switch, the into the corner, to the clean break. Everything that these two ladies did was just beautiful. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. It was great. I can't say enough good things about these two, Toni Storm and Kiera Hogan. But once again, if I was Kiera, I would just be careful. Using the Hogan name might land you in some hot water. I understand that she might even have his permission to use it. Don't know. If it was Brooke Hogan, I would have been like, oh, look at that, it's Brooke Hogan and she's back. Because the last time I heard from her, she did a few music endeavors that didn't go so well. Yeah, she sold an album, but it didn't sell too hot. But like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was beautiful. I don't think that I can continue to do this for 11 minutes more, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it short. Thank you all so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me for this episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. I think that I've gotten all of the news updates, the merchandise update, and everything else for that matter. This has been episode 75. My name is Mocha. Your name is not. Expect a commercial from me maybe next week, if not later on this week. Unless some fuckery happens that, I didn't see coming, which is usually normally the case. Sometimes, not all the time. Also, in that commercial, there's going to be a twist, by the way. A twist that M. Night Shyamalan didn't even see coming. So thank you all so much for joining me. My name is Mocha. Good night, everybody. And that's a wrap.